In the 70-year history of the NBA, Kevin Garnett is amongst the top 5 in power forwards. But the Minnesota Timberwolves he was a part of, because of money and other problems, had fallen into the lower rankings of the NBA. And after trying his best there, Garnett would put in 12 years and most of his 20s in that team, but eventually leave. Getting interest from many teams, he had chosen to go to the Eastern team, Boston Celtics. But as a matter of fact, that was the last team he wanted to go to. That was because even though they had a superstar, Paul Pierce, they were last place. So Boston brought in the top 3-point shooter in the NBA, Ray Allen, to the roster, showing determination to win the championship. And seeing that potential, Garnett would take a trade offer of 7-1 and finally wear the Boston uniform. Now, not doing all the work by himself, with 2 superstars aside him on the same team, Garnett would give the offensive possession to Paul Pierce, and he would focus on playing defense and using his energy there. And maybe because he was the rebound leader 4 times, he played like the best defense in the league, and was a wall against opposing teams. And making aggressive steals was the basics. He would never give up on the ball, and throw his body around, showing amazing hustle play all the time. And when his team's offense wasn't going accordingly, he would be the cure for the team and fill in the blanks. He would raise the tension in the team and control the atmosphere, and when he had to, he would stand up and show powerful performances to lead the team. Even though the 3 key players in the team were over 30 years old, the experience they've had so far and the will to win the championship at least once would lead the Boston team that was last the year before to become the strongest. As a result, the team, surprisingly, out of all 30 teams, ended up in first place. And Garnett, protecting the Boston net, would for the first time be the Defensive Player of the Year. Now, with only the championship on their mind, they entered the playoffs. The first team in their path to victory was the Atlanta Hawks. And having a better strategy than them, Boston the first 2 home games won by a 23-19-point deficit and was on top. And in the next games, those performances kept going. But not like Ray Allen's 3-point performance in the regular season. He couldn't put up many points in the away games against Atlanta, so they lost all of them, and as a result, played till the 7th game. Being put in a tricky situation, Boston fortunately had Garnett and Pierce and won the game by a 34-point deficit and made it to the 2nd round. And the next opponent up was the Cleveland Cavaliers, led by superstar LeBron James, who had become an all-star in a year after his debut and had become the point leader, playing at his best at that time, and poured down offense against Boston, but all of that was stopped by Kevin Garnett's amazing defense. And from the first game, Paul Pierce and Ray Allen had 4 points and 0 points, showing their weakest performance. So Garnett had to step up, and he did by putting up 28 points, and as a result, won the first and also the 2nd game. But LeBron James' offense in away games was just as fierce, and Boston had been shook by this. Even with Garnett's great performance, just like the first round, they went all the way to the 7th game. And after shockingly, LeBron will put up 45 points against Kevin Garnett on defense, and all Boston could do was watch in disbelief. But just then, Paul Pierce would shake up Cleveland, exploding with 41 points, and both teams giving up on defense and just pouring on offense. After the long heated fireworks between them, the team that would advance to the 3rd round would eventually be the Boston Celtics. After that, they would face off against the Detroit Pistons. Kevin Garnett throughout the series would put up the most points from both teams, and not just on defense, he showed beast-like performances in offense as well. He had put up 33 points in one game, showing how great he had played, and as a result, Boston would win 4 games to 2, taking the Eastern Conference proudly. Now in a situation to win one more round for the championship. On another note, the king of the Western Conference would be legend Kobe Bryant leading the LA Lakers. When Garnett was playing for Minnesota, he couldn't beat Kobe in the playoffs, not even once. So this time, he didn't want to miss a chance and played with grit. This mindset was the same for the other 2 key players. For Paul Pierce, he had injured his knee during a game, but kept on playing and shot 3 points in a row successfully. And Ray Allen, on another note, would move to find open space consistently, and with his fast timing and great shot form, would keep on putting up 3-pointers. And to help these two, Garnett would keep on screening for them, and with his team play, when there was the slightest space for opening, they would pour down points against the opponent. And with these threes' performance, they would win the first and second home games. But legend Kobe Bryant wasn't one to shy down from a challenge. He put up 36 points in the third game, putting Boston back in their place. And that wasn't it. He put up 21 points in the first quarter in the fourth game and continued to attack in the second quarter as well. And at the end of the quarter, with a 24-point deficit, made Garnett shiver. But with the head coach supporting the players and finding ways to fix this, the top three had focused up once again. And in the last bit of the fourth quarter, after doing everything in their will and throwing their body around all over the place, there was a miracle of a huge comeback victory. So now Boston was leading the series 3-1, and if they win one more game, it would be it. But Garnett, in an important situation, would miss 3 free throws out of 4, giving the Lakers another chance of hope. Garnett, feeling guilty about what he had done, would enter the 6th game with grit and determination, and with that mindset went on the court. If it was steals, blocks, rebounds, points, screens, hustle play, etc. that was needed, he would do it. Even if his body was torn down, he kept his focus all the way and played. And as a result, put up 26 points and 14 rebounds, having the highest stats out of both teams. And the championship was finally won. The hard path, with almost getting eliminated many times, the determination and will pulled through, and the Boston players and fans' hearts were melted in tears. And Kevin Garnett, with the hard times that built up for 12 years, bursted out, and tears poured down his face. And when he was emotional, the words he had said, that anything was possible, was a statement that fans from all over the world would never forget. There was not big of a change in the roster, and Boston was ready to take on another championship, and in the 08-09 season, would have 19 straight wins, showing how strong they were. And the key for defense, Kevin Garnett, had an average of 15.8 points, showing his presence on offense was still there. But unfortunately, while receiving an alley-oop pass, Kevin Garnett had injured his knee, and because so, could not play in the playoffs. And with Boston having an empty paint zone without him, would face off in the second round against the upcoming best center in the league, Dwight Howard, leading the Orlando Magic, and would get eliminated. Coming back from injury, Kevin Garnett was fortunately in the same shape he was before, and played his role like he always did. And this time, they really wanted to get their second championship and enter the playoffs once again. In the first round against the Miami Heat, they easily plowed through, winning 4-1, and made their way to the second round. The next opponent was the Cleveland Cavaliers, led by LeBron James, and now he was stronger than before, getting 2 consecutive MVP titles. And plus that, playing with Kobe Bryant in the past, the player that shut down Garnett many times, Shaquille O'Neal, was there as well. An uneasy battle that Garnett had faced would be a 4-1 easy win, shutting down LeBron, and enter the third round. And a year ago, when Garnett wasn't playing, using that to his advantage, top center Dwight Howard was mentally shut down to the max by him, and so won the ticket to go to the NBA Finals once again. And like 2 years ago, they would face off against the LA Lakers. And to repay their loss, Kobe Bryant to the 5th game at an average of 30 points, threatening Boston's chances. But even so, Garnett was still leading the series 3-2, and was in a situation to win the championship with 1 game. But in the middle of the game, with the injury of a key center for Boston, and with the rest of the games being all away, Kevin Garnett lost both games in a row, falling before Kobe, losing the championship that was right in front of him. And after, Kevin Garnett was still picked as an All-Star at 34 years old, showing his presence was still huge, but unfortunately, he would not step foot in the championship finals ever again. And the reason was because he shut down LeBron James in the playoffs. So LeBron moved to Miami Heat and played with a lot of talent, and was pretty much part of a super team, and for 2 years in a row eliminated Garnett from the playoffs. With age becoming a factor, his strength and stamina had slowly started to slow down, and Kevin Garnett was traded in the 13-14 season to the Brooklyn Nets. And from there, he would meet LeBron James again in the playoffs, but wasn't able to do much against him, and came up short again. He did play as a starter, but because of minor injuries that led him to slowing down, he had only an average of 7 points, becoming weaker. Kevin Garnett had felt the power of age and had spent a boring season in Brooklyn. But in the midst of all that, he would meet the mentor that recognized him when nobody else did as a rookie, and raise him up to become a superstar, Philip Saunders. He would reunite with that head coach. Philip Saunders was fired in 2005, but starting in 2014, he was signed as the head coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves once again, and Garnett, wanting to end things off with him, would go back to his home team on February 19, 2015, to reminisce his past. The lowest team in the past, Minnesota, he had led for the first time to the playoffs in the past, and Kevin Garnett gave hope for the championship every year. The team was a mess because of money and the players leaving, but he didn't change and kept his devotion to himself. And even though it was a hard path he chose, he did not once complain about his time there. And the fans, remembering those times, welcomed Garnett with warm hearts and was glad to be reunited. And amongst all the fans, there were a couple diehard ones still out there. And seeing how warm they welcomed him, Garnett was deeply moved, and on that day, he led the team to win by a 20-point deficit. And after that, he would show great performance on offense and defense, and even though his body was weakening, he did not slow down, and his will to get the ball did not die down either. And when it wasn't game day, he would be a mentor for young players and teach them some old tricks, and for the remainder of his career, he shared and did everything for that team. The one thing he was the strongest for in the NBA is competitiveness. Kevin Garnett was criticized for his trash-talking and dirty plays, but he was warm and supportive to all his teammates, and he was a leader that gave strength and devotion to the whole team. And his dedication to the teams he played for was enough to be left as a legend in Boston as well. And getting applause from many people and fans, and showing professionalism to the last day, Kevin Garnett would retire on September 23, 2016, and say his goodbyes to Minnesota. And the dedication he showed for 21 years throughout the games he played was a memory for the fans at the time they would never ever forget.